The thing is with these benzos is now I've done so much research on it. They're actually putting benzo into weed. They're putting it into the coke. They're putting it into the fentanyl. That's the thing. Watch out what you're taking and putting in your body, because all this stuff has got benzo in it now.
Knockin' Doors Down, Jason LaChance here, and on this episode I'm talking with my friend Ryan Phillips. Ryan, through his addiction recovery, found he was struggling immensely with anxiety. Well, a psychiatrist had prescribed him benzodiazepines, and Ryan recently has been struggling through the process of detoxing from them. They are incredibly highly addictive, and I'm not telling anyone that's on them that, hey, you need to get off of them. I'm not a doctor, but this is Ryan's story, and maybe it's something that resonates with you, or you're going to find some really interesting information, including how once Ryan told his psychiatrist that he was going to get off of the benzos, his psychiatrist actually called, told him, "I'm sorry," and then never spoke with him again. It is really eye-opening about what is going on with prescription medications around the world. I hope you get something out of this, and it is very appreciated that Ryan was willing to share this. But before we get into talking to Ryan, I want to talk with you real quick. We are going through some really odd times of division right now amongst all of us around the world. There's so much fighting going on, disagreements and everything else. For me, recently, I've really had to step into several practices that help regulate my nervous system and my emotions. So I encourage you to explore some things like breath work, yin yoga, yoga of any kind, meditation. Maybe it's going and exploring spiritual practices. Whatever they are, know that whatever it is that you're going to choose to explore it openly. And if it's not working for you, guess what? You can try something else. And it does not have to be the abusing of a substance. And hey, before I get to Ryan Phillips, if you could do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment in the video below, leave a thumb up on the video so that Ryan can see you got something out of this. And while you're at it, why not share the podcast with someone that you think would get value out of it? Ryan Phillips, thanks for joining me on Knockin' Doors Down. It's good to see your handsome, smiling face.
Oh, thanks. I'm Ryan Phillips. I forgot. Okay, let's go.
You are Ryan Phillips, and I am Jason LaChance, and this is Knockin' Doors Down.
This is Knocking Down Doors, and Brian John Phillips is the name my parents gave me. Thank Lord.
Hey, I know it's we're going to get into some of the challenges you've been facing, recently, but I find you can always have gratitude in anything that's going on, and I always start my day with thinking that way. So I start these conversations that way. 3 things you're grateful for today.
Well, I'm grateful for the conversation that we're about to have. I'm grateful for the gift of life that my parents gave me, and I'm grateful that I have a future ahead of me because I'm sober.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And it's, where we want to cover this because we're trying to bring to light more. And what's the statistics on how many benzo prescriptions there are in the U.S. alone?
2 million benzodiazepam prescriptions in the United States alone. I'm not too sure about Canada and the rest of the world, but I mean, that is absolute insanity. 92 million prescriptions. I mean, talk about benzo hell for many people in the world. And I mean, we talked about this before we got on the show. Big Pharma is cleaning up right now. They're the biggest goddamn drug dealers in the world, and something's got to give here. More awareness. And I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, people just don't know what they're getting into before they take those pills. They don't put it on the bottle that you should only take it for 10 days to 2 weeks tops, and they're very habit forming. Like in my situation, was on them for, a little over a decade. I lost track. I thought it was 8 years, but it was 12 years. That's how clouded my mind was off those bloody killers. So, yeah, by the grace of God, I'm 32 days today and not looking back. Very tough getting through it. Still going through it. I'm still got a nice film of sweat and a bit of a nice headache to go to boot with it. But Hey, man, I'm smiling. I'm grateful, and let's roll.
Yeah. And it's so important to have that awareness about this, as and I'll speak on it a lot with, things when it comes to prescriptions or whatever it is the consequences of not taking it have to outweigh the consequences of taking it. And I'm sorry, this is just a situation where those consequences of taking it far outweigh it, and it's never educated. I know that you had shared with me your psychiatrist had prescribed, and doctors they do get a kickback for their prescriptions. As a matter of fact, to hold your license as a psychiatrist, at least in the United States, you have to do so much prescribing of medication.
100%. Well, my psychiatrist that dumped me to the side of the curb, that apologized to me for prescribing these bloody killers, is driving a brand new yellow Ferrari Modena. So, look, I mean, he's obviously got some nice handwriting.
Mm,
Unbelievable. And the thing is, I mean, I had some pretty crippling anxiety before I got on those pills. And yes, when I took them, it was like getting a warm hug. But I tell you, it was short lived. And, the poor decisions that I made, on those things, I look back on it and it's just like, wow. Yeah, it was definitely a knife in the side for a long time. But, I want to be one of those statistics that, makes it out the other side and, gives, hope to people that are suffering from these pills, whether it be benzos or any other prescription that they're putting in their body that isn't serving them. You know,
yeah, yeah.
alcohol is one thing. Like I said, alcohol was easy for me to come off. So was cocaine. So was all the other drugs that I've done. I've done every drug in the book. So, but I tell you, these things have been a nightmare. They actually have been proven to cause a brain injury. And for a guy that's had many concussions in and out of hockey, the worst ones were actually not in hockey. And that was one of the reasons why I was having all these anxiety and panic attacks was concussion related. I didn't know that until after crossing 4 countries in 2019 for mental health awareness. I saw one of the top brain guys in Canada, and he's like, "Yeah, your concussion situation from post concussion stuff is off the charts." And that's a lot of your mental health issues are due to that. You're not bipolar. Yeah, you have some brain damage, and it's not easy. Tough pill to swallow, especially the benzos. Uh, but I look at it right now. I'm in the moment, and I do have the gift of life today, and whatever I can do just to make a positive difference, just to show that it can be done. Got off the booze, it can be done. Can get off the
Yeah.
pills, it can be done. So I know we discussed yesterday with Flint that there's a time and place for these benzos, maybe, but for a guy who's had addiction issues and destructive behavioral patterns, not a good idea to be taking those things because they are highly, highly addictive, like getting a warm hug.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, it's like I was telling you, I had my primary care physician, he was going to retire, so I switched to somebody else when I was able to reestablish insurance and let him know I was having anxiety issues, like severe anxiety issues, even at points, panic attacks where you're like, am I dying? And, the first thing in there when I had the intake and the nurse is asking me, all these questions, and it's right up there in recovery for alcoholism. Well, benzos are they're the pill form of alcohol, which alcohol is a magical anxiety drug. It really is.
oh,
But the more you take it, guess what happens? It accelerates your anxiety even more. And benzos are like 9 million times that. And so this guy wanted to prescribe me benzos. And I'm like, are you serious? Did you read my chart at all? No, thank you. And that's the last time I went to that guy.
what my anxiety was so bad before taking those benzos. I'd be going to the drugstore and checking my blood pressure like 4 or 5 times a day. I my pulse on my neck, on my wrist, asking my friend, is my pulse okay? Is my heart beating too fast? Like literally coming out of my skin anxiety. And I just didn't know how to calm it down. I wasn't doing any, I mean, I'm high energy as it is. And, obviously, I went finally to the doc and gave me those pills that it was just like everything was okay. But I had no idea of what the side effects were. And but later on along my journey with Benzos, Xanax, clonazepam, and Ativan, whatever the heck I was taking, I was to learn that, oh my goodness gracious. I mean, you look down the list of a benzo withdrawal and some of the side effects. There's like 50 plus, and I had all of them amplified. But it was time. I had to do something about it. It was either I stay on it for the rest of my life and have a life, or I make that the definite decision to get off these bastards and create a better life for me in the future. So. Yeah, for anybody out there suffering, we'll definitely leave the Ryan Phillips protocol of getting off benzos. Might not be the best way to get off them, but I don't know, man. I'm having windows these days. They say sometimes it takes even 5 years before your life, feels like it's getting back to so-called normal, whatever normal is. We live in an anxiety society these days, and we're always looking for a Band-Aid, even people that aren't addicts. So it's just one of those things. I think there's other ways, to find outlets, for your anxiety, for your depression. There's natural ways that, are definitely, they're not out there because Big Pharma wants to make all the money. But I really, truly think that there is ways to get around, your anxiety, your depression, and whatever by natural ways. Come from nature, and nature's man. So.
That's true, and it's a saying. There's a saying I really like. It's no free meals in nature, and that's very much what this type of situation. And it's part of where I'm at in life. Ryan is trying to gain a greater level of discipline. Like,
Right.
I didn't sleep worth a darn last night. I know you didn't either. And I probably had a little too much coffee due to that stress stuff and kind of pushing through and trying to have that energy.
Anxiety and
yeah, yeah, right. And these are the ramifications of it when it comes to that no free meals in nature. Is like I need to examine better. I have to look at what is my caffeine intake, what is my sugar intake, what is my processed food intake, like all these things, like everything has a consequence to it, which doesn't always mean negative. Like, consequences aren't always negative, but it's like, more sunlight. I did some yard work yesterday, regardless of the 100+ temperatures when I got home, because I hate the way my yard looked. But it was also good to be out there, get a little sweat going, be physical, trimming trees, raking, mowing, all this stuff. It's these things that are, they're free to access. And I think that that's just so left out. I mean, you're a nature guy. I love seeing when you're out there on these beautiful hikes. Like how much does that just change the mind, body, and spirit?
Well, I mean, it releases dopamine and natural endorphins. And sometimes it's like, when my life has been the smoothest is when it's like doing the hard things become the easy things. Once you get doing it, it becomes habitual. And I haven't been, diligent on it like I should be. It may look like I'm doing great all the time, but I'm not. I mean, realistically, I should be doing it every day. Getting at least a 45 to an hour minute workout in, a hike into nature, because nature is my backyard. But I mean, especially if it's at your disposal, use it.
Knockin' Doors Down by Carlos Vieira, now available wherever you get audiobooks.
I wasn't done partying, and I didn't want the binge to end. I think I knew that when I finally got home, I'd have to face what I had done, and I wasn't ready to do that. Being responsible for my actions wasn't something I was looking forward to. I had abandoned my wife and baby, my family, and my business. I wanted to avoid the shame of returning to what I had left behind. Even though I was not yet going home, I wasn't sure I had enough resources to continue the binge.
Click the link in the podcast description to find out more.
Sometimes the hardest thing is getting in there, but once you're in there, it becomes beautiful and you're connected. It's one of those things, man. It's just, staying disciplined, and it's something I got to work on these days too, because life works a lot better when you just stick to your habitual program, and it's all, just plugging in the hard drive and doing sometimes what's hard, but then it becomes easy once you get into the routine. So,
yeah. Well, and I think it's simple, not necessarily easy, but simple, right? Like these are simple things, and I have so many times where it's going to bed, and I'm like, "The hell? I just binged like 2 hours of TV. What the am I doing?" Like, I could have been. I got the big blue book of AA right next to me. I've got a whole bunch of other amazing literature. I've really been getting back into sci-fi again. Like, what am I doing? Like, that enrichment stuff. So it's for me, it's a constant check too. Like, I
Oh,
live in a nice gated community. Get out on your bike. Who gives
I
a shit
know.
it's 100 degrees? Just go pedal for 20 minutes.
I'm horrible. I set the intention the night before. Then I get up, go do a hike, hit the gym, and then I have the plan. And then I get about maybe an hour sleep if I'm lucky, and then I'm in my head and laid out in my bed till 11. So, uh, damned if you do, damned if you don't. But you just got to push yourself sometimes. And I know after we get off our knocking down doors, I'll have to get into the wood factory and go for a roll.
Yeah. Well, but what about that part too, where that being kind to ourselves that comes into play too?
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's important to examine that too. I mean, you are going through an incredibly tough process. You've been on this medication, this drug by the best drug dealer, man. They got it figured out. Like it's like government stamped approved for over a decade. So it's, there still has to come in that part of going through this process of being early, in the recovery from this drug that
Yeah.
you have to give yourself to.
Well, I mean, we're really good at beating ourselves up, right? And I'm a professional at it, and I've been like that for my whole life. I'm just I beat the crap out of myself, and I got to start learning how to maybe take it a little bit easier and be like, you're at where you're at, and kind of accept that. And yeah, I mean, 32 days ago, if you were to tell me that I'd be off these bloody things, I would say, nah. But I don't know, man. The thing is with these benzos is now I've done so much research on it. They're actually putting benzo into weed. They're putting it into the coke. They're putting it into the fentanyl
Yep.
because the fentanyl is actually not as addictive as the benzos. The benzos are the most addictive drug out there right now. So, that's the thing. Watch out what you're taking and putting in your body because all this stuff has got benzo in it now.
Yeah.
There's a friend of mine owns a treatment center up in in the middle of our province. Half the people that are in there for drugs, they became addicted to the benzos, not the actual, the fentanyl or the meth or whatever. They're putting benzo in the meth too.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous because you can buy these pills. They go for $20, a 2 milligram clonazepam on the street now. So
Yeah.
people are getting prescriptions because they're handing them out so freely. Get 100 pills times $20. It's not a bad little paycheck.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
not only are big pharma and the doctors making the money, now the patients are pushing the pills too. It's a gong show. These things, man, not
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So,
Which goes to show we clearly didn't learn anything from the opioid crisis and the Sacklers and everything else. And on top of that, the benzos, like people, wanting to understand. So people we've spoken to that have done the benzo dope, so benzo fentanyl mix, is because fentanyl is very short lasting. Like I had to have a minor procedure and I was put out. That's what it was. Like I was scared. That's right. I'm like, oh my God, is this a relapse? Like everybody's like, calm down, you're gonna be fine. But what it does, it gives it legs. It'll stretch it out because you'll see like someone that's truly become a sole fentanyl addict, they're having to hit about every 2 to 4 hours max. But with the benzo in there, it'll stretch it out maybe 6 hours, 8 hours. And so that's what's happening with this. Same with the meth. I mean, it's stretching out that high, that it's giving it legs, so to speak. And it's really scary because like, and I'm sure if you've talked to your friend that owns a treatment center, now when they go in, they've got to detox them off of two things that are
that
difficult to detox.
yeah, yeah, they're not just detoxing off the one thing; they're detoxing off a multitude of the drugs, which is ridiculous. And a lot of these guys, they they don't do so good coming off that, and they're not going to give them, but they don't have benzos on hand at these treatment centers.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah, I mean, when I was in Southeast Asia there, before I flew back to Canada for my surgery, they pumped me full of fentanyl, and I liked it. I
Sure.
said, "Oh, this is." I was scared when they're like, "We're going to give you some fentanyl." I didn't want to take it, But the pain was so bad. I was like, it's being administered by a doctor, and I couldn't wait for the next fix. It was, it was a good thing that I came home after 3 days, because I would have probably kept asking for more.
All right.
And see why people do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Makes, it makes everything okay.
Yeah, I really am so blessed when people have asked, about other drugs that I've done other than alcohol. And I've said, some pills, some powders. But I said, I'm so lucky. Like had a minor procedure years ago, and I decided it was enough kids. 2 was enough. So, but they gave me an opioid after for any pain. And I took that, and that thing made me so sick. And I was like, screw this. Like, I got to drink like 30 beers to feel this sick. So I was like, forget it. So luckily for me, whatever it is, and I don't know why, I do not like it. Like, I hate it after I come out of that procedure and they're waking me up, but because I wasn't fully under with the fentanyl, but it was like this is like uncomfortable. That skin crawling feeling, the twitching and all that, like it was just like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm just lucky that way, I guess.
No, absolutely. Yeah, over there in Southeast Asia, they're giving me fentanyl and morphine. They're giving me both. It was crazy. I got pictures from when I was over there. I was like, holy Christ, that was just a gong show. But I wasn't feeling any pain at all. And then 30-hour flight back where I had nothing. And I didn't get a wink of sleep on the flight. It was just like, lucky to survive the accident.
Right.
Lucky to survive the plane ride home. And I stick screws and a plate and the old shattered ankle there. I mean, they told me I wouldn't walk for 4 months. I was hiking it within a month.
Wow.
So yeah,
that's just you tough Canadian hockey playing and Sons of Guns, man.
It's I know. I don't believe any doctor for some reason. I'm like, I always have to prove the doctor wrong.
And I want to talk though about to really kind of help people what your process has been over the last 30 days. Once you made that decision, like I'm done with this. This is not the way I want to live, because it, like you said, it had ramifications, the same kind of things we do in addiction to any other substance, money, sex, whatever it is, irrational decision making, financial issues, relationship issues, all this stuff happened with a prescription.
Yeah, all of it, all the above. God, at 36, 37, I never had to work another day in my life. I had a lot of real estate. I had money put aside. I was going to go into the film industry and just have a great old career and never have to worry about anything. And little did I know, these pills would be the death of a lot of things, relationships, finances. And, that's the common denominator. If you look up these benzos and the effect that they have on people's relationships, finances, overall well-being, everything, that's what happens. And, I won't name names, but I have, a few friends, close friends that are on them, and they spend most of their days in bed. They've lost jobs, divorces, you name it. One gentleman who I will name, Henry Rodriguez, you can follow him on Instagram. He's been just a godsend in my life. He's from Florida and, lives in Tulum. For 4 months of the year, he's on quite the spiritual journey, and that's you can check him out. He's just awesome, and he's become a real I will say that the light at the end of the tunnel through going through the tunnel is that meeting guys like Henry online, and I've been talking to him every day. He was on them for 20 years, and he went through it, got off them. And he's been a real pillar of strength, to help me. And with that being said, I've been able to help other people as well, because he's been helping me give other people hope. It's just amazing how many people are on these things, and I'm very transparent about it. I mean, I remember about 3 years ago being in an AA meeting, feeling really guilty about being on these benzos. And I thought, I'm the only guy in the bloody room. There's like 50 plus people in the room. And I put my hand up. I said, I haven't had a drink at that point. It was like 5 years. I haven't had a drink in 5 years, but I take benzos. And next thing you know, there's like 20 plus people put their hands up. Me too.
Mhm.
I get out of the AA room, and I'm outside. Everyone's having cigarettes and whatnot. People are coming out to me. Oh, I take them too. Yeah, I take them too. I take them too. Okay, yeah. And these are people that had long-term sobriety. A lot of these people too.
Yeah.
30 plus years. A lot of these guys, and men and women, obviously. So it's a lot of people in the AA rooms and NA still take the benzos. So are you sober if you take benzos? Well, only if you take them as prescribed. But how many people can actually, if they're an addict, can take them as prescribed? Come on. I don't think a lot. I mean, they last for 6 hours. One lasts for 6 hours, maybe for 2 weeks. Then you got to be doubling up. And at the height of my benzo use, I was taking 10 a day. I was driving it to my doctor in Malibu, and she was prescribing me 1,000 at a time. Shame on her. I'd be going down the I-5 and 2 hours of gridlock in Los Angeles coming out of my bloody skin because I only had a couple pills left in my bottle. Go in there and she'd give me 1,000 big hugs.
Yeah.
Bottle. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing that experience that you had there of so many people saying me too, and it's one of the tough things that I hope that when stuff like that happens, anyone that's in a meeting, because I've seen where people then all of a sudden get shunned, you're not sober. And that's just someone being pious and, whatever it is. It's like, no, good. I'm glad you're here. And I'm glad we can open up this conversation that created that community, much like you're talking about Henry. It's like, man, you're not alone in this. You're not alone. Like how many people, I don't know how many people I've gone to, celebrate recovery. It's my primary meeting. I like it's Christian faith-based. I really enjoy it. And I've got a couple of friends there. And, someone might share that, they're clean off the drink or drug, but they're a little addicted to the finances. Like I'm not managing my money well. I'm overspending for whatever reason, or, maybe I'm still having trouble with relationships. I'm keep hooking up with the wrong kind of woman. And, so there's still all these underlying things that can be there and present that we need to keep in mind and be transparent and supportive to one another,
And that's what the fellowship should be all about, but not always is.
Have you dug into the archives of past Knockin' Doorz Down podcast episodes? The Knockin' Doorz Down podcast archive is available to you for free. Check it out. Here's a snippet from when Charlie Sheen was on the podcast.
There's another thing to consider that's just practical and real and true and rampant. Fentanyl.
Yeah.
Fentanyl. You keep around with street drugs these days. I mean, there's a 90% chance that it's going to have fentanyl. And there's a 90% chance you're not going to survive it.
This episode and so many more in the Knockin' Doorz Down archive. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumb up, leave a comment, and share with somebody else that will get value out of the Knockin' Doorz Down podcast.
Judging people is the worst thing you can do in the world. And we all do it. We've all done it at some points of our lives. I don't judge anybody. Are you sure about that? You never done that before? Come on. Human beings, we do. We look at other human beings and we compare ourselves. We all do at some point of our life. We try not to. And I know I do my best not to these days. I try my best not to judge people. Is to judge one is to judge yourself. So, it's one of those things that that if anybody's going through a hard time, whatever, you gotta, try to do your best, try to understand, and that the whole thing with mental health, addiction, it's, allowing the misunderstood to be understood. And that's one of the why I'm very passionate about helping people in mental health and just being, transparent and open about your stuff. I mean, you don't have to tell them everything, but I mean, the only way we can actually connect and really, understand each other is to tell the truth. Mm-hmm. And I made a goddamn ton of mistakes in my life, but I own them. I own the mistakes that I've made. My mistakes have caused a lot of in my life, prison and I name it. I've made that mistake. And, I just turned 49 a couple days ago. I'm at that stage in my life where I try to walk the straight line as the best I can. because look, I got a daughter who's missing right now. Obviously, I wasn't the best example for her. So she kind of went down the wormhole like her dad. But you know, I'm hoping that she comes out of it, a better person one of these days, and she can be a good example. Because God knows I shouldn't be here, you shouldn't be here, but we are. God had mercy on our soul, and I always ask God, how can I be of service today? And it gets me out of my head when I can serve others. That's even just having a conversation like this, because maybe somebody will listen to this conversation that we're having and be like, oh, I'm not fucked up as I thought I was.
Yeah.
Are we really fucked up, or are we just human and it's okay to make mistakes? Like, especially in today's day and age, like, we live in a very fast-paced up society, and there's this thing that we gotta earn called money. there's a roof that we have to have over our head in order to be comfortable, and there's status and all that kind of stuff. I mean, look, I wish everybody could just be happy and comfortable and be okay with what they're doing, but it is a rat race out there, and sometimes we got to stop and smell the roses and really be truly grateful for what we do have. And I think the more that we do that, the more that the universe just gifts you with good people coming into your life. And that's the whole part about recovery is really, I think, is staying in a state of gratitude. And the more that we have that attitude, gratitude, we can just get into the more of the stream and the flow of life and pack more good experiences into it.
Yeah, it's that actual shift from living an unconscious lifestyle to being conscious. And when we're conscious of gratitude, even for the crappy moments, it allows us then to become gratitude. And when we are gratitude, like at that point, that's the energy we're putting out there to the world, and that's what we're attracting then. That's what Absolutely. We're drawing in. You and I both have talked about energy, and I'm a firm believer in it. And I've spoken to teenagers like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, when you break it down, everything is there's electrons running through all of this, through our body, so much of our body and our reactions. Me moving my hands, for the people that aren't watching the video, this is an electronic signal from my brain to do this action. Yeah. Like law of vibration. Yeah. So what we're putting out there, that's what we're going to attract. Like,
our thoughts are like a boomerang. Whatever we put out there is going to come back to us. We live in a vast ocean of motion. Whatever you break down the solid world, what we have is a dance of particles and electrons and atoms moving at an inconceivable high rate of vibration. So, literally, the way we feel equals our point of attraction. So it's you get into the all manifestation and all that kind of stuff. The principle of auto-suggestion, which is self-suggestion. You write down on a piece of paper and you keep saying it over and over and over again. You hammer that into your subconscious mind, which is 10,000 times more powerful than the conscious mind. And next thing you know, you transmute that into its physical equivalent. So thoughts do become things, and powerful things at that. Especially mixed with definiteness, purpose, and a burning desire to be, do, or have.
Yeah. Well, and I, you've been going through this process that you've been through it, and we all. It's never something we perfect and get away from. But if you're sitting telling yourself you're a piece of shit, you're the worst person to ever exist and all these things, you're absolutely going to believe that. If you're ingesting terrible content all the time, like just mindless stuff, negative stuff, whatever it is, you're going to become a very negative person. That's just who and what you're going to be.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, because we're focusing mechanisms, like absolute focusing mechanism. Whatever we focus on is going to expand. Whatever we feed our attention to is what we're going to keep manifesting in our life. Our reality and where we are today is a result of what we thought. So the power of thought is it's a real thing. So that's the whole deal with using and abusing substances is that the more you use and abuse, the more you're going to manifest a life.
Yeah.
And like it. And that's a good life for you. I mean, I had millions of dollars and I was using and abusing like a rock star, and I thought it was great until my life started falling apart. Then I realized that it was crap. So, I had all the bells and whistles and toys and mansions or whatever, but it didn't make me happy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the thing, is we can have whatever we want in this world. You just got to figure it out what the hell it is you want and put your focus on it and really, really desire it. And then, it becomes your reality. When we say, I don't have the money, that means you'll never have it. But when you actually convince yourself that you have something you don't have, it becomes yours pretty damn quick.
Mm-hmm.
So good or bad. There is no good or bad. The universe doesn't know any different.
Yeah. Wow. Yes. Yes. And I think, and this is something that my mentor, Mike Diamond, and really through his book, A Dose of Positivity, really helped me point out, because he talks about the empowering ways and disempowering ways, because DOSE stands for dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. And boy, us addicts, we like to get them as quick as possible. So it's that disempowering reality of, I want the pleasure on the front end and pay the consequence on the back end. Whereas now with the, nature, fitness, all these things like that, we can get the dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins in an empowering way that's not just pleasure, but actual joy. Something, and when you're in addiction, you don't know what the joy is. Get it in an
100%.
empowering way, and you're paying a little bit on the front end for all this reward on the back end.
And half the battle is getting out of our own goddamn way. Get out of your own way. Well, drop the ego, and which is sometimes tough.
Yeah.
A lot tough, but it gets easier once you start shedding it. So, I know when when I'm encapsulated in my egocentric up ways, my reality isn't looking too good.
Yeah.
So it's just the way it is.
I think that's an interesting thing for someone, you had pursued an incredibly hard sport. Like, people oftentimes, who do you think the best athletes are in the world? And I tend to always say hockey players and professional race car drivers, because you're going to find nobody with greater reflexes. You're just not. Like, the ability to have trained your mind to respond and act in such a quick instance. Like, when the first time I went and saw hockey live, I took my kids, they were really into it for a while. I was like, oh my God, like, TV does this no justice. Like, but to be trained, I've talked with people like yourself to play, is like, no, the puck was moving slow. Yeah. Like, eventually the, race car drivers, the same thing. Like, you're doing 210 miles per hour. Yeah, it doesn't really feel like that. Like, the time slows down, which shows that power of the mind. And I just find it so fascinating of how people just misunderstand that about, to achieve those things, how important the ego is in doing it. But we get to a point where the ego no longer serves us in a very good way.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I tell some people, you don't realize it when you're in it, because you're in it and you're conditioned to do it. But the fact of the matter is, when you're playing hockey, there's 12 people on a sheet of ice. You're going up to 30 kilometers an hour. You got to know where everybody is, and you're chasing around a rubber disc. You don't think your mind's going at an inconceivably high rate of motion? Come on. Now you get out of it. Try calming your mind down. Good luck.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. So when you're playing it, you're in the zone, and you find that sweet spot. It's like, it's great. It's like, it's a drug in its own. It's nuts. That's your drug. It's my drug. And then you gotta find something that can fuel your soul when you're done that shit. It's like, what do I do now? So, and then when you screaming fans to pump it up even more, especially when you score a goal. Oh my God! Talk about a rush. Get that same rush not being on the ice. Well, I mean, I turned to drugs and alcohol, but how did that work out for me? Not great.
Yeah.
So,
well, and these things too, when your mind goes to that state of being, and I had it a few times playing basketball, not much, where time really slowed down and I knew I was in the flow and rhythm of it all. But it's very similar to a state of hypervigilance, which is something that, that when soldiers come home, have PTSD, that they're at that rate of hypervigilance. It's no different. I can only imagine, with hockey, like you said, 12 other guys on the, there are 12 guys on the ice, this puck flying at a crazy amount of speed. You're moving forwards, backwards, turning. You got to, try to see where the puck's going, where your teammates are going, and everything else. And also make sure that the enforcer doesn't take your damn head off at the same time. You got to watch out for the goon. I mean, how are you not in a state of hypervigilance?
No, it's one of those things. I mean, I don't know. I'm getting flashbacks playing hockey again. I might have to make a comeback. Again, be the oldest pro hockey player ever to live.
No, Gordie Howe was like 45 when he retired, something like that.
No, in his 50s. Yeah,
was he?
Yeah. Yeah, he's still playing at 50 for crying out loud. So, I mean, that guy, he was a different animal. So,
Oh yeah,
uh,
awesome toothless.
uh, unreal. Yeah, I did like what 30 seasons or something like that or more. God. Uh,
uh,
yeah, I think I might take up like lawn bowling or some lawn darts. Yeah, do it all over again. It'd be golf.
yeah.
A battle with myself the whole time, and you're only as good as your last shot.
Well, and I like that. It's funny. He's my best friend. I was talking to before we got on here, and he's an avid golfer. And for him, I've asked him like, "What's the love of? Is it the being?" He's like, "It's that self challenge. It's always me against me. It doesn't matter who I'm playing against, and somebody does better. It's always about me and my improvement." And he's works in finance. It's fast paced. It can be stressful, and for him, it's very much that I get to slow down and that gift of being able to slow down and the pace of it. And I think those things are really important for us to embrace as people. These situations in which we can slow down.
100%. 100%. So I'm gonna after we get off this show here, I'm gonna go slow my mind down in the woods. 100%.
Good, good. Well, hey, I'm
This talk got my mind moving.
I'm gonna ask you for some final thoughts here in a bit. Some
Absolutely,
words of
brother.
encouragement. If you want to connect with Ryan, his Instagram link is there in the description. He does answer his messages. Please be positive ones, but especially if you're struggling, with anything, but let alone this benzo process, and I just,
yeah, I'm there to help. If anyone wants to reach out and ask me any questions whatsoever, I'm all about helping people. So, when I can help somebody, it helps me as well, so 100%, buddy. Yeah.
All right, let's jump into some fun random questions before we wrap it up. All right. Do you have an interest or a hobby that maybe you don't talk about a lot that people might be surprised to learn? Maybe something you've never told me.
Oh God. Um, I don't know. I like to write.
Really?
Writing. I've written a book, and I actually started writing. I started to write a second book last summer. I think I got to get back to it. Believe it or not, I'm a pretty good writer. I love art too. I like to draw. I mean, I really love to travel. I've been to many countries in my life, and yeah, I mean, I think I would love to get a travel show going. That's kind of like on the list. A Bridging Cultures travel show with Henry Rodriguez.
I dig it, man. That'd be cool. I mean, out of all this world travel, do you have a favorite place that you visited?
Oh God, party days or not party days?
Yeah, let's go not party days.
Okay, not party days. I'd have to say Greece was incredible, but that was great partying too. I love Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia is it's incredible. The people over there are so just really laid back and just carefree. I love that. And the beaches are just absolutely incredible. Yeah, Southeast Asia was deadly.
Yeah. Yeah. People ask when they've asked me that, Japan ranks up there very high for me.
Spain too. I lived in Spain for 8 months. I was in Barcelona, so I traveled all over Spain and Europe there. Spain was incredible.
Spain is incredible. I that's another country that I just really, the people were just phenomenal.
So was Eastern Europe. I've been to Budapest, Hungary, Croatia. I've been to Poland. I've been to Czech Republic. God, the architecture there was off the chain and incredible, man.
Yeah. You always noticed, I don't know about you, but it's anyone I talk to that has done a good amount of traveling around the world. The first thing they always mention is the people, then the scenery and other stuff.
Yeah, no kidding. Absolutely. Yeah. It's all about the people. I think the more that I travel, I realize that the people, we're all the same. We're all the same, but just different cultures. And we all have something to learn from each other at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I haven't been doing enough traveling in the last few years, with COVID and everything like that. It was a joke. Yeah. So, I'm really passionate about traveling. God willing, get this travel show going and, really help try to connect humanity more through through mental health, addiction, and adversities, and just like, showing that we all are the same, and we truly do have so much to learn from each other, and we can all come together more.
Yeah. Is there a movie, TV show that you've watched recently, or a book that you've read that you would recommend, and what was your biggest takeaway?
Well, I actually haven't watched any movies lately, but I think my favorite movie of all time would be Dumb and Dumber. About 500 times, it never gets old.
Yeah. That's funny. Is there a book you've read recently that maybe has had a nice impact on you and you've had a good takeaway from it?
Probably Alcoholics Anonymous.
Mm.
Me sober.
Yeah. And for people that maybe never ventured down ever reading that book because they have not struggled with addiction, I've recommended read it anyways, because there's so much beautiful wisdom that is within those pages. And I always get something different out of it every time I read it, or I'll listen to it audio wise, that it just will trigger in a different way. It's like, I'm not going to put on the same level of the brilliance of the Bible, but it's got a lot of that principle in there that'll really help you examine your values.
I got my Bible right here, actually. So the Bible's a great book. I try to read a little bit of it daily.
Yeah.
100%.
All right, let's go. We'll go two more here, random questions. If you were cast in a movie, would you rather play the villain or the hero?
At this point in my life, the villain for sure. Yeah, I was a good villain back in the day when I in organized crime. So I think I could actually fit that bill pretty good.
It just seems way more fun. Like I'd love to be a Sith in a Star Wars movie or TV show, even if I last like 2 minutes. Like, how cool would that be? All right, last one. If you could have dinner with any one person, living or not, who would it be?
Mike Tyson.
Why?
You know what? I just, something about Mike Tyson. I loved watching him when I was a kid. He was just an animal, and he lost everything. Like he lost all of his money, and he was just like so humbled. And he just seems like he's just like such a good guy. He's really down to earth, and I just love his heart, man. He's been through like hell and back, and he's alive, and he keeps himself pretty fit. He's just one of those guys that I think I'd love to bro down with. Absolutely. So if you run in, let him know that I said hi.
All right, I will. You never know. Life is weird that way.
Yeah, we'll probably feature him on Bridging Cultures.
There you go. That's that. Yes, I'm with you.
Definitely, I would ring with him just for that.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
Get another concussion or two,
Hey, Ryan, this is where I give you the floor. Any words of encouragement that you'd like to lend to the listener? We have people that are in recovery, loved ones, people that are just trying to prosper and grow in life. What would you throw out?
Speak up. If you're going through anything, we all go through trials and tribulations in life. And if we hold it in, it's not good. You're not alone. Don't suffer in silence. There'll always be someone there to listen, and I'm here to listen. I mean, I may not be your friend, but I can try. And it's so many people these days are taking their lives, and you're worth it. We come from pure positive love energy, and be that love, and it's inside you. It's amazing when you just start believing in yourself what can happen. So don't be like me and beat yourself up too hard.
Yeah, or like me. And when you get on the other end and you start to say nice things to yourself and life starts to shift,
it's beautiful. Love.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. My brother, Ryan Phillips, I appreciate you. I'm proud of you, and I love you. And we got to figure out this in-person hang here.
Absolutely. I can't wait, man. I'll give you a big hug.
Damn right you will. Damn right.
So
on that note, remember, no outside solutions to inside problems, and keep knocking doors down.